One of the most consistent patterns in human history is not collapse itself, but confidence. Civilizations rarely believe they are approaching their end. Even as warning signs multiply, societies convince themselves that decline is something that happens to others, somewhere else, in a different time. This belief has existed across continents, cultures, and eras, and it has proven more destructive than invasion, famine, or disaster. The greatest danger civilizations face is not external threat, but the conviction that they are immune to the fate of those who came before. History shows that civilizations understand collapse intellectually but reject it emotionally. They study the failures of earlier societies, record their mistakes, and even build myths around their downfall. Yet when similar patterns begin to emerge within their own systems, those patterns are reinterpreted, minimized, or rationalized. The mind seeks continuity. It resists endings, and entire civilizations behave much like individuals when confronted with uncomfortable truths. They deny, delay, and deflect. Ancient societies often viewed themselves as the culmination of history, rather than a chapter within it. The Assyrians believed their empire was divinely ordained and eternal. Roman writers referred to Rome as the eternal city, a phrase repeated even as borders weakened and authority fractured. The Maya believed their rulers maintained cosmic balance, ensuring continuity through ritual and sacrifice. When warning signs appeared, they were framed as temporary disturbances, not existential threats. Psychological bias plays a central role in this blindness. One of the most powerful is normalcy bias, the tendency to assume that future events will resemble past experience. When a society has endured droughts, rebellions, or economic hardship before, it expects to recover again. Each survival reinforces the belief that collapse is unlikely. The very resilience of a civilization becomes the foundation of its complacency. There is also the problem of scale. Collapse rarely announces itself dramatically. It unfolds gradually, through small failures that feel manageable in isolation. A harvest is slightly worse than usual. A tax increase feels temporary. Infrastructure maintenance is postponed. Trust in leadership declines incrementally. None of these changes seem catastrophic on their own. They are absorbed into daily life, normalized, and explained away. By the time their cumulative impact becomes visible, reversing course requires sacrifices few are willing to make. Political systems amplify this effect. Leaders are rewarded for stability, not disruption. Admitting that a civilization faces systemic danger often undermines authority and legitimacy. As a result, warning signs are reframed as exaggerations, blamed on external forces, or deferred to future solutions. This dynamic appears repeatedly in historical records. In late Rome, emperors promised restoration rather than reform. In declining dynasties across Asia, officials focused on preserving tradition rather than restructuring institutions. The language of reassurance replaced the language of urgency. Social hierarchy further complicates recognition. Elites often experience warning signs last. Resource scarcity, environmental degradation, and social unrest affect marginalized populations first. By the time elites feel the impact directly, systems are already strained. Historical accounts frequently show ruling classes insulated from early consequences, reinforcing the belief that problems are localized rather than systemic. This delay distorts perception and slows response. Cultural identity also resists the idea of decline. Civilizations define themselves through narratives of greatness, progress, or divine favor. These stories shape education, religion, and public memory. To accept that collapse is possible feels like a betrayal of identity itself. Societies invested in their own exceptionalism reinterpret warning signs as tests, challenges, or moral failings rather than structural limits. Decline becomes a problem of behavior rather than design. Archaeological evidence reveals this mindset with unsettling clarity. In cities approaching abandonment, we find continued investment in monuments, rituals, and symbols of power, even as infrastructure deteriorates. Temples are expanded while water systems fail. Palaces are renovated while surrounding settlements empty. These choices reflect belief. The belief that maintaining appearances will restore stability. That continuity can be performed into existence. Another powerful factor is generational distance. Those who built a civilization rarely witness its collapse. Decline often unfolds across multiple lifetimes, allowing each generation to blame predecessors or hope successors will solve emerging problems. Responsibility becomes diffuse. Urgency dissolves. Historical texts show repeated postponement, reforms proposed but not enacted, warnings acknowledged but delayed. Collapse becomes inevitable not because it is unstoppable, but because action is always scheduled for later. Even when warnings become undeniable, civilizations often misinterpret their cause. Instead of addressing root problems, they focus on symptoms. Military expansion replaces social reform. Religious revival substitutes for ecological balance. Authoritarian control replaces cooperation. These responses may provide short-term relief, but they accelerate long-term instability. History shows that civilizations often tighten their grip just as adaptability is most needed. One of the most haunting patterns is how civilizations view the ruins of others. They study fallen societies with fascination and detachment, treating them as cautionary tales rather than mirrors. Ancient historians documented earlier collapses, yet framed them as moral failures unique to those cultures. They were corrupt. They lost discipline. They angered the gods. Rarely did they recognize similar dynamics unfolding in their own time. The belief that this time is different appears in every era. New technologies, systems, or ideologies create the illusion of immunity. Each civilization believes it has solved the problems that destroyed others. But technology does not erase human psychology. Complexity does not eliminate fragility. In many cases, it amplifies it. The more interconnected a system becomes, the more vulnerable it is to cascading failure. Collapse, when it arrives, is often met with disbelief. Historical records from declining societies express shock, confusion, and nostalgia, rather than understanding. People search for villains, conspiracies, or sudden catastrophes. Rarely do they acknowledge the long chain of ignored warnings that made collapse possible. By then, the story has shifted from prevention to survival. What history ultimately reveals is not that civilizations fail to see warning signs, but that they fail to accept what those signs demand. Recognition is not the same as action. Awareness does not guarantee change. Civilizations do not fall because they are blind, but because seeing clearly requires abandoning comforting narratives, redistributing power, and redefining success. Choices that feel more dangerous than decline itself. The most unsettling lesson of history is that civilizations rarely collapse in ignorance. They collapse while explaining to themselves why collapse will not happen, until it does. Subscribe to this channel for more. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a story lost to time.